It's not every day that I'm presented with an opportunity to interview a family member, and until only recently, I saw that very opportunity present itself to me. I love my Aunt Christine very dearly, and have always been fascinated by her story, so I'm very excited to have the chance to hear more about her life.
Right now, this is what I'm going to do.
But first, I need a pizza.
Pre-cooked. I'm going to put my sauce on it. Nice pizza sauce. The only difference between regular sauce and pizza sauce is a little sweeter. It has a little more sugar in it. Or you can caramelize your tomatoes. How fast is that?
Smells good.
Extra sauce for a second one. Go all the way to the ends.
Oh yeah.
Don't make it too soupy in the middle. Not too much sauce. Then you do your cheese. Make sure your hands are clean or use gloves. Yummy, yummy.
Nice and easy.
You want pepperoni on it?
No thanks.
Okay. You can, from here, you can put anything on it that you want.
We're gonna let this pizza cook and do its thing. We'll come back to it later.
Nice.
Trust me. Yeah, it does. It smells good too.
Okay.
I sat down at a local Barnes & Noble and got the chance to interview my aunt and hear more about her story.
Okay, so tell us what it was like growing up with 4 male siblings in this house.
Do I have to? It causes so much trauma. No. It was fun because 2 older and 2 younger, and I'm in the middle, so that was quite a dynamic to have. The 2 older ones were tough. The 2 little ones were fine. As a matter of fact, the one that came right after me, we're so close in age, we did everything together, college, all that stuff. So it was fun, but it was also, people go, oh, you must be very spoiled. No, I learned how to fight. And I learned how to speak up, speak out, speak loud, because or you'd be overpowered.
And tell us about Grandma and Grandpa,
Oh, well.
as parents growing up.
My mom was way ahead of her time. So she was like, no bra, no shoes, like she was a dancer, so everything was set to music. And it was very fun because she was funny and she had a really good sense of humor. And of course, my dad, he had a very dry sense of humor, so he played off of her. He was more quiet and well-read, while my mom bounced off the walls and always had an activity, always had people in the house, always had cooking and music, and she taught me how to bake when I was like 5 because she said baking is a science and I don't want to follow a recipe. I go, of course not. I thought, you don't follow any rules. So she taught me how to bake, and that was really fun. And that I kind of developed a real love for food and for baked goods and all cultures through her.
What lasting memories do you have of the Wapengers Falls as a neighborhood growing up?
I cherished the time that my brothers were out of the house, so I had my mom all to myself. So we'd spend a lot of time in the kitchen, and we had every Friday, she and I would go grocery shopping. We did a lot of things together. My mom was a sucker for a farm stand, so she would seek them out. If it was local and it was fruit or veggies, fish or cheese, whatever it was. I mean, I grew up in a time where my mom was the only one that drove in our neighborhood. So we had the vendor trucks would come to the house, to the neighborhood. And they'd have one with fruit, of course, an ice cream man. They even had a guy that came every Friday, I think it had fish. The fish, so it's New York. It's different. It's very food oriented. I don't think we ever had store bought cupcakes in our house, that kind of thing. Everything was homemade, made from scratch.
Can you tell us if Grandma and Grandpa's parenting style had any influence on how you became a parent to your child?
Generally, I just did the opposite of what they did. No. Well, I think it was, we always grew up feeling that our parents loved us more than any other parents in the whole neighborhood. Like they imposed upon us to love one another. And my dad was one of those types. He didn't ever want us to go to bed mad at one another, which is very hard to do when you have four brothers, So, but we worked it out. We still all get along really well to this day. So I think it was just my parents used to get upset if we were fighting. They didn't like that.
How would you describe your relationship with my dad?
Where do I begin? Well, first of all, your dad is 10 years older than I am. So when I was 6, he was 16. And the Vietnam War was going on. And so when he was 18, we were so afraid he was going to get drafted. But he had to, I would go hide in the garage and cry because I was so upset, like they were going to take him away and he was going to die. So that was a good basis for me for love. But also, he had really bad health issues back then, so he didn't get drafted. So thankfully, because guys in our neighborhood, one went to Canada, and the other one came home in a body bag. It was a sad, sad time. And I remember it went on for a long time. Even in 6th grade, I still remember watching the news, and it was, but he was more, your dad was more of a father, pushy stage mother than my real parents. He was really good at picking out what people are really good at and then pushing them towards it, even when we didn't agree with it,
Can you tell us about your relationship with my mom?
Oh my God, your mother. First of all, your mother was beautiful. She was so Italian looking and so, she was so opposite of your dad. Like she never said a curse word. She would be like, oh, I'm going to write a letter. And the rest of us are like, F off. But she was so pretty, and she was my friend first. And then your dad came out to visit me in Ohio from New York, and he met her. And as soon as he met her, he was like, oh, she's for me. That's my kind of girl. And then they were seeing each other in secret. And I go away on a business trip. I come back, and they're like moving in together. I'm like, wait a minute. And it was basically for them, I think it was love at first sight. And he used to call her his little pet names like Biscuit and things like that. She was a wonderful girl. We had the same name, Chris Caruso. So if people called by mistake and I go, do you want the nice one or the mean one? I was the mean one. She was the light one or the dark. But she was, she could do everything. Like if she invited you over for dinner, I would ask, what are we having? She goes, why? Does that make a difference on your decision? I go, no, I want to get excited, because she always made something special or something different. And we were both into cooking and food, so our holidays were off the chain, really.
Why don't we take a moment to check on that pizza?
This is a very special picture because you were the absolute light of our lives when you were born. You were the first boy grandchild, and we don't have very many. So you were everything, and you were so cute and so pudgy, and she was just, I think she thought you hung the moon for sure. But she was a great mother and always did everything that kids should do, parties and all that stuff. And even as being as sick as she was, She got sick when you were 18 months old with cancer, and she lasted and fought it until you were 7. She was a strong, strong woman, and you were the driving force, and you and your dad, so.
So later on in your life, you were struck with a debilitating disease in
Yeah.
Guillain-Barré. Can you tell us about how that
Yeah.
affected you? What was going through your mind at the time?
At the time, it's called Guillain-Barré syndrome. It's a form of French polio, actually, the translation. But at the time, it was probably the worst thing that had ever happened to me, or a lot of people who go through any kind of neuromuscular debilitating disease. It was extremely progressive. So on a Friday, I went to the student health center because my hands and my feet were numb and they were cold and I was having trouble walking, and they diagnosed it right away. By the time I was right before finals too. I'm like, okay, I'll go do my finals and then I'll come back. They're like, no, you don't understand. So my brother Tommy, we went to college together, we're very close in age, he took me to the emergency room and he practically carried me in because that's how fast I was losing my strength. So I'm sitting in a wheelchair and practically sliding out. So they admitted me, and on a Friday and on Sunday I had a tube down my throat for breathing. And they were running all kinds of tests and everything. And thankfully, I was at the Ohio State University Hospital because it's very progressive, very cutting edge, lots of different opinions and students. And so I had great care. I remained in the hospital for 9 months. I was on a respirator for 5. What the disease does, it takes over your autonomic system and it strips the outer core of your nerves, so your whole body feels like it has a massive toothache constantly, and it causes paralysis to the point where they had to stitch my eyes shut because I was too paralyzed to blink, and they're afraid my corneas would dry up. Then they put me on a respirator for like 4 or 5 months for breathing, and they have different ways now to treat it, but back I was a senior in college, so we're talking 40 years ago. So one of the options was chemotherapy, and my parents said no because I didn't want it either, it was like, chemo, wait. And then they have a plasma exchange, which they do now, but the doctor that I had was very progressive. He was actually a big doctor in muscular dystrophy, and his name was Jerry Mandel. He actually located a protein in the brain for muscular dystrophy. That's another story. But so it was good that I was there. So then I had to go through physical therapy because I had to learn to walk again and use my hands and speak. And my vocal, I couldn't talk, and my eyes were stitched shut. So can you imagine? You're a senior in college, everything's going great, and then one day you wake up and you're in intensive care, and your parents are crying, and Grandpa moved out into my apartment. It was an ordeal for everyone. And so I did most of my physical therapy underwater with an ex-NFL trainer that happened to work at OSU, and build my strength back up. But I had code blue a couple times because just the respiratory portion of it. And they did tell my parents that if she lives, she may never walk again. But I'm the type of person, if you tell me I can't do something, I'm going to do it. So, and I just worked really hard. And I think what happened was, it took me 2 to 3 years to fully recover. I still have a little bilateral foot drop. That's the residual from it. But I fully recovered. After 9 months, I was like probably in intensive care for 5 months. So it made me a better person. It made me appreciate everything. Like I could sit up in bed and breathe on my own. That's a luxury. I had no bad hair days, even when all my hair fell out. It was like, when you experience something like that, it could go one of 2 ways. I could have wheeled myself in the corner and felt like my life is over, or I could fight. And so I chose to fight. I chose to learn to walk again. I chose to build up my strength and have a great career. And give birth on my own, things like that are what normal people think is just normal. That to me is a luxury. So it's made me great.
When that happened to you, do you consider yourself to be religious? Did you have any beliefs in like a higher being that was watching over you at the time?
You know what the funny thing is that I had a boyfriend at the time, and he was very supportive. So I kind of looked forward to like getting better for love again. But Grandma, my mom, is extremely religious, so she had all these saint cards out and everything. I think I had a couple near-death experiences where I saw Jesus in my room, and I don't know if it was from the pain meds that they were pumping me with, but at one point I saw all this water, and I saw God waving to me, and I could have been hallucinating, but whatever. But I never believed that I was going to die. Like I had that fight in me, like this is not going to happen to me. So that was it. When you self-reliance and self-belief is a beautiful thing. So I was just very, very grateful to have gotten better. And I don't think I could have if it weren't for the support of my family. Like Grandpa was there every day, 5 a.m. He wouldn't leave. He even suffered a heart attack while I was in the hospital. Grandma would fly back and forth from New York. I still had a little brother in junior high. So, and then your dad and Jimmy, who is gone now, but everybody was there, and I had friends and family, and my friend Lisa and Chrissy, people did not give up on me, and I didn't give up on myself.
But needless to say, that was a life-changing experience for you.
Yeah.
But I think that led up to another life-changing experience is when you became a mother.
Yeah,
So,
well, that was, at that point I had thought to myself, what are you going to do with the rest of your life? Like, I wanted to be a journalist. I wanted to be like, running people over, down with cameras and Oprah Winfrey and all that stuff. But I didn't have it, like I walk kind of gingerly and things like that. So always in my mind, I've had a creative kind of gravitation, and I've always loved things. I've always tried projects and things like that. So one of the things I did is, and I love the cosmetic industry and the fragrance industry. So the first job I ever got, I wasn't even sure if I could stand up for a full day, but I took a job in a cosmetic department for a department store. And then I ended up working for cosmetic companies and leading it all into, the great career that I had. I worked for Victoria's Secret and started Bath and Body Works and White Barn Candle Company, and went to New York and worked in licensing for Disney, Hello Kitty, and Warner Brothers Tweety Bird. And then Disney hired me outright, and that was the best job I ever had. And I had a couple other ones after that, and it really gave me the drive, and I was so grateful that I found something that I love and I was really good at. And I took jobs in product development and concept strategy and concept development. So not only was I like building like princess costumes or snow globes like that, I was doing the whole concept, like the Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique, where little girls can go and get all dressed up and look like a princess. And then we were doing it for all levels. So there was the park one that was expensive, all the way down to like the big box stores like Walmart. So it was a wonderful experience. It really was.
So tell us about your childhood. Tell us about.
Oh, okay. Because I went to Disney, I noticed everybody in the office had, I got married obviously, and about 4 or 5 years after I got married, we had been trying to have a baby. It was not like we weren't trying. But so when I got the job, we were living in New York and we moved to California, and I saw everyone in the office had twins. One girl had triplets. I'm like, what, is there something in the water here? So the one girl goes, our health insurance pays for infertility. I'm like, no way. I've been trying to get pregnant for 4 years. And so I went to a very famous specialist where I saw a couple movie stars and celebrities in the waiting room. I won't mention who. And I had first they checked my husband, and he was okay. Then I had 2 inseminations. I had to harvest my eggs, so they did egg retrieval. But first they did 2 inseminations, and then I did the egg thing, and I had 2 in vitro, and the last one obviously worked. And I got pregnant with twins, but unfortunately, very early on I miscarried one of the twins. So then I had to be very careful not to lose the baby inside of me. And I gave birth to a beautiful little baby girl, and she came a month early. So she came on Thanksgiving Day. So she was like my little butterball. And I had cooked all day. I had just taken off work. I just said, okay, I'm going to go and get my nursery ready and take the breastfeeding classes and all that stuff. I did nothing because the night right before Thanksgiving, my water broke. And I'm like, uh-oh, I think I need to go to the hospital. So I took a shower, put makeup on. I'm like, I don't think the baby's going to come right away. So I went and got examined. They go, oh yeah, you're going to have a baby in 24 hours. I'm like, wait, I'm not ready yet. And they're like, sorry. So I gave birth, and I didn't have a C-section. I gave birth the natural way, and 6'9". I was a big baby. So, and I had been to the doctor earlier, and they said, we'll probably induce your labor in 2 weeks. Oh yeah, well, I went into labor that night. So it was the happiest, probably the most exciting of all the things I've done in my life, and I've been everywhere and traveled all over the place. That was the most memorable experience I've ever had.
What's the best piece of advice you would give to your child if they were here right now asking for help?
I always give like the same kind of advice for young people like you and things. Go everywhere you can, experience everything you can, keep your mind open to other people, other cultures, travel, taste everything, try everything. Don't close yourself off. And most important, if you fail, who gives a shit? Who cares? Because failure, like Walt Disney says, is your first attempt in learning. If you learn something, you didn't fail. So don't worry about it. If you fail, okay, pick yourself up. It's not how you fall, it's how you get back up. So I always feel like, do it all. Like try to broaden your horizons as much as you can.
And what's the best advice you would give to yourself from the past?
Well, I took myself very seriously. So I kind of lighten up a little bit, because I was so intense. And also stop worrying about things. I worried about things, and I'm like, why do I worry about that? Most of the times the universe works out for itself. And I always feel like nothing is as bad as it seems. And sometimes when you're so worried about something, then a couple weeks later you're like, I can't even believe I worried about that. So it's like kind of have faith in yourself and rely on yourself. Because like I said, self-reliance is a beautiful thing.
You didn't think I'd forget about the pizza, did you?
2 killers besides Berkowitz. Somebody killed before Berkowitz.
That looks good.
There you go.
Trust me when I say it was well worth the wait.
Ventura Highway in the sunshine, where the days are longer, the nights are stronger than moonshine. You're gonna go, I know. Cause the freeway